So anyway, yes. So I was yapping, and now that we're recording, welcome to the first meeting of the year of the Ferris Lab /HFNCS/Cherish Lab. Sorry, because I don't have a solid name identified. I want to give credit to Harrison for coming up with an excellent working acronym. But as I keep thinking, while that's a clever acronym, it's a hard thing to tell somebody I am part of the Cherish Lab, so I'm still shopping it around. I cherish it, but it's also, you know what I mean. So, all right, very good. So if we could just, again, hello, who am I, class thing for the week, that would be awesome. So Dr. Mai, please.
Yeah, my name is Bin Mai. You've seen me a couple of times before. I'm from the technology management program on campus, and I'm trying to collaborate with Dr. Ferris about some the human elements in cybersecurity decision making. For example, the role emotions play when you're making a cybersecurity related decisions. So that's basically my research focus on technology management, managing information technology. So focusing one of the directions I'm going is to study the human behavior, human perception, human decision making when they are interacting with information technology. So that's a pretty umbrella, but anything for within it, I'm interested in. And obviously the human factor is also a major emphasis on Dr. Ferris in this lab. So I can see a lot of great potentials for collaboration. That's why I'm here. Hopefully I keep listening to everybody else's projects, ideas. If you like, I will offer my opinion, my thoughts. And then from time to time, probably I'm going to share some of my thoughts, my research ideas, and then try to get some feedback from you guys. Thank you.
All right.
I'm Lauren Massingale, senior undergrad. This is my last semester in College Station. I'm getting married in December and going all online. So I'm not planning on doing research this semester, but in the spring, I'll be participating virtually. So first week of school, campus is crazy. Yeah. It is nuts. I've never driven to school besides this year, and I'm regretting it instantly.
We were just talking about that. It's just
so bad.
We were trying to put the factors together, and the big one for me is like, well, it's been 2 years since there's been the big car influx. Yeah. That I think even if you haven't been here, there is a certain amount of everybody coming in here and getting adjusted to the fact that that there's that many more cars suddenly, that just like slows down the whole mess. Yeah. And it'll get a little better in a couple of weeks, but it's still like a dramatically, yeah. Right, that's perfect. Yeah.
And then the first 2 days, the wireless connections is down, right?
Oh, really?
Yeah.
This is my first time. I didn't come until today.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
okay, so you avoid that.
Yeah.
My department, the network printer is still down. Okay. We cannot print directly from our office.
Yeah.
So that's they are not used to so many people showing up.
Yeah. It's like the infrastructure shrunk.
Yeah.
Not being. Oh, yeah. Very good. Well, thanks, Lawrence. Yep.
I'm an undergrad student. Actually, my senior year, but transfer majors again. So I just got into the industry major about last year. Right now I'm taking about junior level courses. As far as classes that I'm taking 4 classes. I'm trying to take like a slow semester because I'm also working. And
4 classes is a slow semester?
Hopefully.
Okay.
I'm just like,
okay, cool. Oh, I guess, yeah. Yeah, sorry. Yeah. Okay. Maybe we have the meetings there now. Yeah, that'd be cool. We're at POV?
POV? Yeah, it's, do you know where the Stella Hotel is at?
Yes.
It's right there. They own the house shops.
So my daughter frequently has dance things on the stage right up there.
Oh, okay.
So, and that's the kind of place where whenever we go there, my wife's like, hey, can you go find me a coffee or something? So, yeah, awesome. Thanks, all. Are you taking, do you remember 330 Human Systems Interaction?
I took that last.
Okay. Got it. I haven't taught that for a couple of years just by the rotation of, I would normally, no, not normally teach it, but I like to teach it once in a while. Actually, I helped create that course. Actually, I did create that course, and then others were there to say, yeah, that's a good model, like 8 years ago. But the new thing this semester is our writing instructor, Jose, who I don't know how the students universally feel about him, but I like him a lot. And okay, good. I think he's tough on some people. So I hear both. I hear both. I love him, and I can't believe that this guy is coming after me like this. So, but professionally, I've always very much liked working with him, and he's been out sick. Like, I don't know. I can't. I don't want to share his medical situation, but he's been out seriously ill, and so we're really kind of like doing everything we can to keep him supported. But I'm not, because I'm not teaching class. But it's sort of like because he plays such a major role in teaching. Oh, yeah, hey, Nikita, thanks. Yes. Well, please find a cookie and find a seat, or help yourself there. There you go. So, okay, very good. Well, thanks, Saul. Thanks for the notes. Nikita, you'll have to introduce yourself in a second, but we're going around the circle so you can see what we're talking about. So please, Harrison.
All right. Well, howdy, everyone. My name is Harrison Whistler-Lippman. I'm a senior industrial and systems engineering major. Also taking, I guess, not as slow as semester at 16 hours. I've been with the lab for about 2 years, 2.5 years now, working with Saya, Anderson, focusing on interactions and emotions.
That's great. Thank you. Yep.
I have a role.
Yeah.
I'm doing software development.
Yeah. That's, for the capstone?
Yeah.
That's awesome. Are you guys in, or probably not you, but are you in capstone or one? Yeah. So do you guys know? Okay, so you said might be, so you don't know what your project is yet, really?
Yeah,
or
I've got 3 proposals. I need to do like 4 or 5 different projects.
Okay. Oh wow.
We just preference ours by Sunday, then they put us in.
Cool.
I haven't looked into this yet.
They want 1 analyze, 2 with a small subset of bots.
Got it. Very cool. Awesome. Thank you, Nate. Nikita or Anderson? Yes, please. Yes. Mhm. And one thing about the classes you experienced this week. Are they? Yep. Yeah, very good. Very good. Thanks, Nikita. Yep, Anderson.
I may or may not be my last semester here at the end of the year. And my research focus on human factors, engineering. One thing funny about this week in class, so the Lolly student Marvin.
Yes.
Yeah. So I was taking Hippo's class.
Yeah.
Team 689, and then there's a student, and I was like, I'm a PhD at industrial engineering, and then he came to me like, cool, industrial is cool. Like, I know a girl, she also in industrial. She's like, tall, white, blonde girl, and I know he was talking about Margaret, but I just want to mess with him. I was like, okay, bro. First of all, it's a big program. It's a big program. I cannot know all the people there. And second of all, Can you describe to me a white girl with blonde hair in conversation in Texas? Yeah, what's the funny story? Oh my God,
Thanks.
You guys.
Mhm.
I'm Sarah. I am 6th-year PhD student, 6th-year starting now. Sorry, this week. I've been working with Dr. Ferris since late 2015, and I started as a master's student in 2020. What else? I'm not taking any
PhD
classes.
candidate.
Oh, yes.
Mhm.
In fact, I recently submitted it 2 days ago. And so I anticipate another year. And we're working on the safety project, which if you guys don't know, it's how we can, not just the development of emotion regulation for drivers, we're thinking about how do we address concerns like COVID or a person being extremely excited for their driving. So it's more like emotions and decision making. I've been working with most of the people in this room over the last few years, and they're all wonderful. I'm not taking any classes this semester. This is probably my first semester that I'm not taking any classes.
Yeah. Or teaching.
Or teaching.
Yeah.
Yes. So not too bad.
Yeah. That sounds awesome, but it's weird.
Yeah.
Because I always liked having at least one class to kind of ground my activities around, because it was always consistent times and stuff. And then when it's like, okay, now it's nothing else to do except write and research. Yeah, but you're doing it, but it is a weird transition.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
In Jonathan's case too, yeah.
it really helped that Jonathan's in the office too.
Yeah.
And then
Yep.
do this together.
Yep.
But group meetings and lab meetings also help with keeping things on track. All that.
I just wanted to, so I said you're a PhD candidate, and it's worth explaining a little bit about what that means, because I bet about this many people hadn't heard that before. So so Saya just I guess a month or so ago, I don't remember when it was, but she successfully defended her proposal for the final study for her dissertation. And that is what that aligns with the safety activities. It's not the same thing. It's not saying like, oh, my last study is this safety project. The safety project goes along, and fruits of that will be the last steps of her research. But when you're a candidate, that means essentially you're done with classes. You've got your research direction approved by the committee. So it's not just me. It's four total, right? Yeah. So that's a big step. Anderson just is midway through the first big hurdle, which is the qualifying exam, happens at the end of the first year. And then Saya just made the second last hurdle, and Jonathan's right at the second last hurdle, which is this preliminary exam thing. So as much as I don't like to say there's endings in sight, Saya's at least cleared every hurdle except the final defense, and Jonathan's got the plan for one hurdle and then the final defense, and Anderson's got a few years and then that hurdle. but yeah, we're all, so just so that you know what that means, it is a major step, but it's worth congratulating, but it also kind of lets you know a little bit about the activities of that person, which is, for Saya's case, sometimes we're going to have to leave her alone and just let her write for a couple of weeks. And with everybody, that's always the case. That's what, so Carolina, who I know a lot of you met or didn't meet, but was here at our last meeting, she is successfully defended. I hope she doesn't mind me sharing that she has an awesome new job, and it will be with Children's Hospital in Philadelphia. Philly? Yes, at the hospital.
So, I mean, I work with the data.
Did you really?
Yeah.
At that hospital system? It's amazing. I didn't know you worked. No, I knew you were in Philly. I knew you did all these. I didn't know you worked with children's. That's so cool.
I work with the top, that's what they call it. In this hospital.
Yep.
Also, hospital, university.
Oh, Penn. Yeah. Excellent. Yep. So Caro, and she'll be doing I talked with her yesterday, just casually. She's in frantic packing and moving mode. She starts on September 20th and doesn't have I think hasn't been there yet. Or maybe she was there for an interview, but otherwise is like, yeah, I don't know if I'm going to be able to find a place in time before I start. So she may have to go there and stay in a hotel until she can find something and then go and move with her dogs and everything. So yeah, but she's really excited. She was really excited. I was really happy for her talking with her. And she's got patient safety sorts of things, but she's also got an avenue there to look at things like burnout. And like, I don't know how many of you remember her research, which was about workload and reaching the limit of your workload, the cognitive red line. She has, and this is a great thing, this is a great way to think about a PhD, is you're not done doing research with your PhD, you just have a foundation to start. And so her big, new professional research topic will be a lot, which would, her own interest brought her there, but it's about things like stress and burnout and applying a lot of what she already learned. But this is kind of a new problem. It's not just like, how much can I handle right now? It's how much can I handle over a long term and keep my mental health intact and all that. So yes, last but not least, may I introduce Jonathan?
Deals with human cognitive fatigue, task-induced cognitive fatigue, how does changing tasks with the different kinds of task demands affect that? So I'll be doing studies that are kind of like computerized basic tasks, and we're also going to make use of the driving simulator. Try to measure performance and physiological work rate.
Excellent. Yep, great. Okay, all right. 3:20, so staying on track, because I want to be done by 4. So that would be, that's one of the things I want to do a little bit better. I got a little better 2 years ago. I got a little bit better last year. I want to get even better this year, continuous improvement with like having structure to these meetings. So we just introduced ourselves. That's great. I had an agenda. It just wasn't worth sending out because it was introduce ourselves, then me talk about schedule, then we talk about projects. Normally I'll send out an agenda and it'll be like, here are the things we're talking about. And I'll do it with a couple of days advance notice. So when we would meet, if anybody has, hey, can I have this on it? Can I say this or that? We can fit it in. So today, mostly wanted to be, hey, welcome, first week of classes. Let's get settled. Let's get the ship oriented in the right direction, excited and enthusiastically. So thanks everybody for the intros. My next point was about my schedule. So it's going to get exciting, but weird. I have my calendar that I have tried a few times to share with everybody, and it was very mixed success. So I still am working on that. I might get it figured out. I'm just not making it a priority right now to figure that out anymore. But I want to show you I want to maybe draw them up there, just a range of dates that I'm going to be in my availabilities. So it goes like this. So I'm here for 4 more days through next Thursday, as available as I can possibly make myself. And then Friday the 10th, here, let me just write. All I really need is this much. So I can just write it. You can write it or whatever. So Ferris. Okay, so good. So that till 9/4 available. Okay. And then no, not 9/10, which is Friday. I'm going to Miami. This is for the X Prize thing, which I will tell you about. until T. Okay. So next week on Friday, I'm going to fly to Miami. I did this also in June, the same thing for a training, but we have the X Prize Avatar competition. And if you've seen the movie Avatar, the James Cameron one with the blue guys running around, think of a long-term grand challenge, which is, hey, science, can we actually do that? And let's start with a robotic avatar. Okay, so before we get into the biological interface. So, but if me, the human, can be embodying another robotic entity, an avatar, that is somewhere else, which might be Mars, or it might be my collaborator's office in California, or it might be Saya's office in there, and I just didn't feel like coming to campus today, or something like that. So, but the interaction is going to be between humans, biological humans, and avatars, which represent a human. So this competition is, robotics companies have entered. It's a $10 million prize. There are 37 entries internationally that have made it to this stage, and it's the semifinals right now. So I got in on this about 6 to 8 months ago, related to a proposal I was writing with Dr. Hipwell Anderson. So Cynthia Hipwell, who's somebody, you know Dr. Hipwell? So Cynthia Hipwell in mechanical engineering runs a couple things. She's a nano fabrication expert worldwide. So she came here from university. Well, she was from Minnesota, but she was working for one of these companies that makes hard drives, just dealing with like nanoscale technologies. I want to say like SanDisk or something like that. It wasn't Sandia. I think it was an industry thing. Anyway, she's here. She does nanofabrication. She runs a nanofabrication facility out by Research Park. She also teaches classes in innovation. So that's one of the things I've been encouraging Anderson to check out. And so working with her on a couple of things related to haptics. So you guys know some of the stuff I've done. We haven't done much of it lately, but has to do with the sense of touch. A lot of the science we deal with is getting information to a person that might be auditory or visual, and it might be in all these different formats. One of the formats, which is kind of the tertiary one, is the sense of touch, the vibratory stuff. So I've got vibratory displays that we can use and everything, but mostly I've been working with her on the human perceptual side of touch. And it's one thing to have a vibration and to get information from that. It's another thing to say, what does my hand need to feel if there's a robot hand out there on Mars that grabs a rock and I want to feel like I'm grabbing that rock? What is my hand, like what is the sense, what are the force sensors that we're getting here that need to be translated here to my actual hand so I feel like I'm on Mars touching a rock?
So would it be like if you grab something a certain size, your hand would stop?
Yes. So force is part of it, force resistance. You would feel pressure, at each of these pads. You can even get things like texture, so going like this is a very specific neural pattern in certain receptors on the skin. We can replicate that electronically. Like I could put electrodes on a finger and make it feel like somebody just scraped something across it that was like a wood in texture. And so if you can get that fine level of, and I'm saying I can't do that, I can't. I theoretically could. I know enough about the science and the technology out there to say that's feasible. It's complicated. It's a tricky problem. So long story so far, this got me into a world where I was working closely with Dr. Hipwell on projects related to robotics and related to the human side of interfacing. Fast forward to having written this gigantic proposal with a large group, and one of the leaders of that large group at Northwestern University, his name is Ed Colgate, Dr. Colgate. And he is one of the major influential founding members of this prize, $10 million thing. So he was the lead on a big proposal that Dr. Hipwell was also connected to and then brought me in on as one of maybe 20 people. So, and I guess I did enough worked through that to distinguish myself that my name got on the list of potential people to be judges for this program that's led by this Dr. Cooley, right? So I got invited. Yes, awesome. Coincides with my sabbatical, so I can devote time to it. But that's what I'm doing. So next Friday, I'm in Miami. I will give you guys as much of the story as I can. I will report back as often as I can. I just know that they have our days booked from like PR breakfasts through like judging all day and then like dinners and like I think there's going to be like politicians coming and it's going to be something. So basically I'm counting on not being available except for like 1% of the time. Okay? So Ferris availability, 1%. Okay, so for this stretch of time, I will be very hard to get a hold of. Now, this is why you guys have, where is it? My phone number. Right. Oh, right here. Okay. So while I'm gone, I still want to hear from you guys. You can send me emails, but you can probably guess how attentive I'll be to email. So if there is an urgent thing, I want you guys especially to text me. Just make sure you got that. All right, next. 9:20, 9:26. Family. So my extended family in Wisconsin has every year this thing. It's been going on for many, many years. It's partially a memorial family history thing. It's increasingly, because my uncles run it and they're retired now, it's increasingly just party week. So I'm going to be there because they asked me to go every single year, and I was like, I can't. Okay, this year I can go. So I'm going to go, and so I'm going to say at least 25% of the time available. Okay, so more available than, and I'll be doing meetings and like my regular Army meetings and all that. I'll be on that. Then 9:27 through that's the end of that week. 10/3. Okay, first. Here. And this is Ison week. So some of you know this, some of you don't. I'm now a shared track coordinator. I brought in a little bit more help, but I have historically been one of the main runners of our engineering honors program, which is maybe how I talked to some of you in the first place, although it's not a requirement by any means. But as part of that, I have a whole bunch of need to talk to and recruit students, in the first year. And so I will be engaged in this. And it's also the time when part of my role, which I ask many of you to please help me with, is showing enthusiasm to others. And so this is the week when we have lab tours. This is the week when there's like nightly events, which are both like including free food, just FYI. But then there are also things like all of the faculty come up and talk for 2 minutes about who they are and what they can do in like a hilarious, fast-paced thing. Right? So you'll hear a lot about that, but I'm here. Now, then 10/4, my son's birthday. 9, Michigan. Data collection for my Army project, or it's a pilot testing. So I will be available. I'm going to put this at 5% available. I'll be online and stuff all day. I'm just going to be in Michigan in the simulation center, so daily kind of working on stuff set up. All right, 10 is back. Let's see. 4th is 11. 11. 17. Here. 100% available. That's a good week for Ferris is coming back and we were going to have that demo ready. Let's get it ready. So I would love that if while I'm here that week, it is a nice intense sort of like, hey, how are things? And I don't mean this like, hey, you better have your stuff ready to show me. More like you're going to be working along and then let's use that time to be really deeply productive and working on it. And then 11.5 Michigan. Michigan 25%. This is included, so this is 3 weeks at the end. Okay. And then 6 on here. Yeah. So after 11.6. All right. So Miami thing is going to be fun. Otherwise, I'm just not here. I'm here a couple times. The Michigan times are going to be difficult to predict, but I won't be physically here. So I'm kind of estimating all the way behind it. Okay. All right, thanks. All right, so that was that. So any questions about? So again, like you guys are the ones who I want to have that access. So please let me know if there's any, if there are, you'll hear me say this a couple times, a lot, buying stuff, right? So I'm at the end of my, my slush funds from the summer, but I'm at the beginning of the regenerated slush funds from doing research. And then that's part of it, is it's like a percentage of how much I spend, I get back. So little things like, can we get a couple of new speakers or lights, or we've just been talking about little things we might do around the lab to methodologically make it a little more interesting. If I can buy a piece of equipment and it costs less than $100, I'm pretty much gonna do it. So all you got to do is tell me, hey, I've got a use for this, can you get it? And if you're going to use it, I'm going to buy it. So just reach out to me and let me know. I will be excited to hear that you have identified things that will move your projects along without us having to build too much. Okay. So I like the capacity to build things, and I'm talking about like this stuff. Kind of how we were playing with the Arduino stuff. And you can see pieces of them up and around our driving sim here, and there'll be more of that. We can build those things. I'd be happy to talk about from my knowledge. Oh, I can imagine how we could do that without too much hassle. I also know that I have a tendency to want to build things when I shouldn't. Because then pretty quickly I spent the whole weekend and almost got it to work, but didn't work. So it's nowhere, and then debugging gets tied down until 2 weeks later, and you know. So if we can buy systems, and if they're not more than $100, let's do it. So things like the lights we were talking about, let's have those go around here. We might be better, we might be easier to build it than to try to find something, but I just wanted to make that. Schedule stuff. Does anybody have any schedule related things? I know it's not just me here, but anything interesting coming up? Texas A&M wise, I'm not thinking about.
Not just in them, but in the faculty society.
That's right. That's right. That's right. Same week I'm in Michigan. Yeah.
Yeah. While you're in Michigan, they will have their in-person conference in Baltimore, and then later on the 25th of October through the 28th will be the virtual.
Interesting. So HF, did I catch that right? HFES is split in, they're separating that far?
I believe it's just going to be a copy.
Oh, I
of
see.
The sessions, but you won't have the same interactions.
That's pretty interesting. Is that a new thing? Did they just announce that?
I don't, is it kind of they wanted to do a hybrid thing. So they ended up splitting it like per semester, like 4 to the 7th, and the 25th. It's perfect. If you have 3 days of virtual, I imagine it's probably about an hour.
Probably.
I'll see what I can find from Dr. Curtis. I might like to be volunteering for it.
Yeah, it's great.
I've been waiting for a volunteer's email because I haven't done, I haven't registered or anything, and I want
Yeah, if you can volunteer, and then be there, it's fantastic. Like, especially if that means you don't have to pay anything. If it's just like if it gives you a remote or I'm thinking of the virtual one. And we said this, you know, we're right before it, so this is long time in the past. But if you have an article to present, we've gone through the work, finished all, you know, and written a proposal and it gets accepted, which is something that I expect at least 3 of those will happen, if not more. We can talk about expanding that. The submission deadline is usually in like February or March. So that's what's happening in a couple of weeks is way back in February or March would have needed to have things done and written and everything. But this semester, we've got 3 big data collections coming up, at least 3, actually probably more than that. And each of those data collections represents a study, which could be a publication at Human Factors. And here's the other thing. I'm a track, what is it called? Technical group program chair for the Perception and Performance Technical Group starting at this next meeting for 2 years. So what that means is next year's show, I will be the one who says, this is our track, you know, and I want the best papers to be in there. And obviously I want those papers to have our flavor from our lab. Doesn't have to be with that particular track, but I'll be a big presence at Human Factors, and anybody else who has an accepted first author paper, I will work with you so you can go and be funded to go there. Either through me, through the university, through the department, some combination of the 3. Okay, so I'll make that pledge to you. If we have, at least for those who are first author or will be presenting the work, I will fund you to go next year. If you get accepted, got to be accepted. All right. Thank you, but that's a good point to bring up for sure. And to keep an eye for that, because I've been conveniently ignoring that, but it's mostly because I know I'm going to be in simulator world the whole time. So I knew I wasn't going to be able to do it. All right. All right. All right. Any other schedule stuff? Well, so with 20 minutes, I talked to each Jonathan and Saya and Anderson about let's use some time to be constructive towards your projects. We've only got 20 minutes total, and Anderson asked for 20 minutes. So well, it's okay. Well, why don't we do it this way then? Let's just do, if each of you kind of want to talk about immediate next steps and don't go into a great elaboration yet, and we'll see what kind of time we got. Anderson, you can talk as long as you want at the end then. And then one thing, Jonathan, if we could, that the pupilometer might be a pretty cool thing to have up and going in the next couple minutes. So, who would like to talk about which first? Otherwise, that's great.
So, next step for us is, we have talked about the project in a way that we want to that I got feedback from the proposal that I submitted to another conference called Live, and just like we had talked, it also mentioned having like an urban and a rural setting. So what would be interesting is for us to figure out in the driving setting, what can we get out of the rural setting? What can we, metrics, like what's important? When we get through the urban setting, like Dr. Ferris mentioned, we have a corridor of yellow light. In the rural setting, you could look at speed and things. So we'll talk more about this. So there's that. We've had a discussion about how to elicit in the driving sim, and that's not just like a I'm content, I'm okay, I'm happy. It's a ooh, I'm having an amazing day, pedal to the metal. Yes, and nothing's gonna go wrong sort of response. So if y'all have any thoughts on how we can do that, please let me know. One of the things that we've been discussing is like announcing to the participants, like, hey, today is your lucky day. You're gonna make $10 more and have the roll of quarters in our hand instead, and like drop them into a cup each time we do something.
Except we don't tell them they're going to win $10 more.
Yes.
We say You happen to come on bonus day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Every.
So since we have an expanded group of, I assume most of you are over 21, but that's okay if you're not. But I'd forgotten you have to be 21 to gamble legally. So like in a casino. So, but that to me is the sort of excitement that I think is what we want. I'm driving down the road and I'm happy, but I am, yes, excited, happy, and I'm driving faster because I'm happy, right?
Yeah.
I'm not driving faster because I'm mad. I'm driving faster because I'm excited.
Right.
And I'm making my own world where this is me, but like it's Friday night. It's like the longest day before I have to check my email again, you know? And it's, whatever reason, I'm excited. Like I find myself in an unexpected, relieving thing. And then gambling is to me like I put my money in, oh crap, it's gone. And then every little tiny win, and I was talking about how when I went to a conference in Reno, I don't know, almost 10 years ago now. That was the last time I'd done any gambling like this, I think. But I remember playing with like a $5 bill in the airport while I was waiting for my flight. So they have you can do it right. I don't know if you've ever been to Reno. Right there, you walk off the gate. Oh, there's a $5 nickel slot machine or whatever. So I just did that and I won like, I don't remember what it was exactly, but it was like a small amount of money I invested, but I got like 500%. So I just kept winning. I was like, this is incredible. Like this is the best trip ever. And I had just arrived in Reno and it was so exciting. And it was just like little like, all right, I'll play one more round. Oh, I won 5 more cents. And that's literally all it was, or 20 cents or something, or I won $1.10 with that roll. So it wasn't like a major game changer. It was small enough that if we have to pay it, it doesn't hurt, but it was exciting enough that it was a really effective way to be like, yes, yes, yes. And I think that's kind of what we want. This sustained sort of happy, no, I not use the term happy because it's got to be like casino excitement, right? Right.
So there have to be some form of return.
Well, what?
Very more exciting.
So what we're thinking, or what I thought, or I don't know where the thought is on this now. People are driving along and we tell them, each time you happen to drive over these hidden triggers in the road that they're randomly distributed, but every time you go over one, which are like, we can tell them they're in all of the like legal spots on the road to drive. So we don't tell them to like drive way crazy. But like, if you happen to be just at the right speed at the right time at this spot, you're going to win an extra quarter. And then we have, so imagine they're driving and there's this table right next to him here, that's got experimental stuff on it. And, Harrison or Saya or Nate or somebody is here with a roll of quarters and they're like, oh, there's another one. And it's just like slap, slap, slap. And there's a pile of quarters there. And they don't have to, there needs to be some pilot testing and all. But the idea is they feel like they're continually winning based on something they did. Really, we've got a full $10 of quarters. We intend for that whole thing to be spent by the time they're done. But if you just give them the roll of quarters, then the excitement's done. So if it's like, oh, you got another one. Oh, you got another one. Like each one is sort of like a reinforcing of that spirit. Yeah.
Yes. So we tell them, like in the email, that you can win. Participate, you get $20, but we would have budget for like 30 for you. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
It's not an official number.
Yeah.
We could have budgeted for 30 for each participant, just extra 10 will be. So that's kind of where our thoughts are. And yes,
so there's still a lot of procedural things to work out. And so, that's another reason I wanted each of these groups to say, like Jonathan and Sia and Anderson, because we want to give all of you who are like, oh, cool, I'm just starting with new things, or I've been doing things, but I want to get more involved. This like the kind of role that we could have somebody help with, which is design, script, pilot test, practice. We still got a lot of questions. Will this work? But we've got ways to measure emotions, right? So we've got We've got easy subjective surveys and stuff. But just to see, bring in a friend and I'll give $10 and if you can play this out and we can get physiological data and see if it's actually keeping people excited like we think it is. We talked about, well, what if we bring in pairs of participants, 2 at a time? And so you come with your roommate or your friend or your significant other, or somebody you already like and get along with, and maybe are coming to do this experiment on your way to get lunch or dinner or go out for the evening or something. So you've got this natural positive energy. And then that other person can wait for their turn, but kind of feed off that, feed off our participant while they're driving. But the idea is get people happy and then, get them in this state, excited, and maintain that to the point that we expect it to be reflected in how people drive. So, we had talked about get people in this state and they could be super excited about something and then get in the car and start driving and then just kind of that excitement just naturally wanes, right? So this is a way of zipping it back up in the same way that we can shock people in the negative version of this, right? So, and that's another point. But so this whole, call it like the treatment manager, the emotion manager, right? That could be a pretty cool role for someone to work on, and to like carve off this as its own methodology is its own publishable thing, to be honest. Like to say, hey, I designed this scenario to induce, like, think of it like the same way that Saya has gone to this textbook that says this movie, this clip is the validated, like been studied and shown to have an emotional effect. This could be a study that finds a new treatment for inducing that sort of emotional effect. Yeah.
And just personally, and everybody else, we will meet each week from 3 to 4 p.m. 3 to 4 p.m. on Friday each week. You're welcome to join, and we will at some point do like pilot participants and stuff. And I will send out an email to the lab.
Yeah, send the whole group. Yeah.
Join us, and just yes, I will let.
Thank you.
Jonathan.
Yeah, maybe Jonathan next, and then Anderson's got.
So a quick call for anyone who's interested. Trying to shift, especially during COVID, I got into a rut of just having meetings and trying to make the semester more active, getting things done. And so I've come up with this idea of these working meetings so that rather than talking, we're doing. And they may not be regular because I want to meet everyone's schedule, but try to get everybody hands-on devices. Even if you're in here by yourself and want access to the lab, want to work on the simulator. Other interesting devices like Ferris mentioned is like an eye tracking, but we're also, it measures your pupil. So that can be an indication of fatigue, which I'm interested in. There's a wide opportunity for you to figure this out completely on your own. I'm kind of new to it. I also have a device that measures your heart rate, and I'm wanting to play with that, get the data. So there's opportunities for any of those things. You're free to work.
From what we talked about this morning with that figure, and like we're assuming this drop in arousal, that's the kind of thing we could really use somebody who wants to sit in the driving sim and drive something monotonous and be wearing the eye tracker, the pupilometer, this thing, and act to heart, because I know Nikita, we've been talking about this too. If there is a physiological indication at all that shows people cognitively changing, and I'll just say it could be fatiguing, but really it just needs to be some indication that over time there's a change in somebody's arousal, right? And so what we're actually looking at with these, and I gotta be really quick, sorry. What the pupil gives us, so the diameter of the pupil increases when you have what we call a sympathetic response. Now it's the sympathetic autonomous nervous system. It's one of two branches, the sympathetic and the parasympathetic, that work together. They control things like the sweat content in our skin, like goosebumps, right? This is a autonomous nervous system response. The pupil size, our heart rate, our breathing patterns, all of these are affected by these nervous systems. It's the fight or flight nervous system. Okay, so when you have a stress reaction, these are detectable things, but it also has to do with our overall like attentiveness, arousal levels. So if we are at a low energy state, there are indicators of low sympathetic autonomous nervous system activity. And so that's what we're looking for. We may be able to get that in pupil diameter. We may be able to get that in heart rate data. We may need a combination of the two to make any sense. Maybe nothing. But then we're making a lot of assumptions, and we need kind of people who want to dig into that. That is also a research question in itself. Are there physiological indicators of this fatiguing over time? And sounds like there are from the literature. There's enough to be like, it looks like there should be, but this is a very nicely scoped problem for human factors, in ergonomic society. That's the thing that I was saying what we should be submitting. So, okay. Thank you, Jonathan. Cool. All right. And Anderson, we got about 5 minutes. Anderson, I'll give you the time you need. But also, I want to ask Dr. Mai if there's anything you wanted to bring to the discussion today.
I just want to mention the emotion
Yes.
in cybersecurity decision making.
Yep,
I
yep.
think I briefly mentioned that the last time. And I think, like I said, several pieces. First of all, elicit the emotion, and then conduct this risk attitude test. Brett, the balloon and risk elicitation test.
Yep.
And then handle the security pop-up messages.
Yeah.
So those three components. The other two, they're readily available. We need to figure out the first part.
Yes.
And then to do it. And I think it's well in place. Well, I mean, for example, I know that Saya, you are doing the emotion thing. But are you comfortable taking a new project or somebody, anybody else? Or?
I think if we have a emotion elicitation like system down.
Yeah, we have some like, for example, IAPS.
Yep.
That I think you heard about that, right?
Oh yeah.
And then there are some other systems like movies.
Yes. Yeah.
So said.
That's what I'm talking.
We can do that.
Yeah.
We can do that. Then I would say because the majority of the experiment design we already have some kind of like in place, but we probably need another IRB for this. That will take some time. So I personally I would like to see it started sooner rather than later as early as possible. But I need some people to participate. So who do you think will be will be comfortable, will be available, and then on top of everything that you guys are doing right now to initiate this new project?
I think we think about this in the same realm as, because Saya's got to have, that's another branch of Saya's work, right? Is the emotion elicitation methods. So the emotion management where we keep people happy throughout, but it's still got to start with some formative, like we've got people in an emotional state. That itself is still, it's got several working pieces. But we had talked about like with excitement, tapping into like watching a movie that has excitement tied into it, or a sporting event that has like really deep excitement with it. But it's also kind of like, it's kind of almost a managed script. The participant comes in, we say, hey, watch this video. Hey, let me tell you this story. Hey, I'm going to casually turn on this music that's really happy. You know, so it's kind of constructing a whole scene that people are a little bit aware of what's going on, but maybe not every detail. And we're just, again, we check this with physiological measures and these subjective scales to see what works.
Okay.
Yes. So I would say, so this is a role, this emotion elicitation role that I think could be a small teams thing. And I'll let you kind of think about how you want to do that. But I would say that team can both contribute towards exactly what you're doing here. But I'd say use the same methods, and let's go and see the same elicitation methods, exactly the same, as much as we can. Then we just test it in the cybersecurity.
Yes.
So they either get wound up and go there, or they get wound up and they go to the cybersecurity center.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, that'd be neat.
So should I talk to you a little bit more? So maybe after this, me and you.
Or and I'd say sending out an email to the lab, soliciting input. Say let's make that its own meeting on the weekly schedule.
Yeah.
Call it the emotional elicitation team versus the emotional decision making team or whatever, right? And then that could be a pretty good way to do it.
Okay.
So, and those of you who are, I know that not everybody was here when we last talked about it, but so Dr. Mai and I, so they have a facility which is like tons of these computers already set up, all ready to go to test, how people would
Human behavior lab.
interact with
Yes,
it.
that's the
Yeah.
facility. Human behavior lab.
Human behavior
And,
lab.
actually, one of those time I can take you there to show you how we did the second and the third component to do the breath test and then the cybersecurity pop-up messages thing
Oh,
to
yeah.
demonstrate that. And then of course now in this project, well, the new thing will be put them into certain emotional states, and then
Very cool.
we can see how to. Maybe once we get to see the facility and then the actual demonstration of those parts, we can have a better idea what's the best, most efficient, effective approach to elicitate emotions.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
Dr. Maya, I'd also like to show you this book. This is kind of where I got started. Have you seen?
Oh, I know the name of this
yeah.
book. Yes, when the literature, read literature. Yes,
Yeah.
there's this book. Yes,
So,
and there was some. I noticed there was some literature there, kind of like a comparing and a contrast which of those systems
yeah.
works better. Some says these picture things, they are not as effective as the film, and there were some articles about it.
Yes, definitely. And a lot of things, there's obviously since the release of the book, there's always been like scientists trying to figure out
The new
still
things,
best-
yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I collect a couple of literatures
Okay.
in my other computers, and to show there were multiple systems. We can talk about that later. Yes. I'm sorry, Anderson.
All right. Yes. So Anderson.
So the next thing we're gonna do is data collection. We're gonna do. What we're gonna do is we're gonna call it here, and then we have this super cool device on active heart. It's ECG collection after your cardiac activity. So what this is gonna do is that you're gonna put it on your chest directly, not on a shirt. Not with my shirt on, obviously. So yeah, so when we collect the data, so the participant will put this on their chest, and then we're gonna monitor their cardiac activity. And how we're gonna do is that we're gonna make them do a task, a mentally loaded task, and something to do with that. You're gonna do mental math, do like kind of subtraction or addition problems with it. And Nathan and Harrison recently just developed this app.
Oh, sweet.
Yep.
So basically, we have mass participants, so we can just put any number behind it just for housekeeping.
Yeah.
It won't really be necessary. Submit, and it has a little bar for you to enter in answers, whatever you want.
Awesome.
There's the graphical time bar remaining. It counts.
Oh, yeah.
Forward. It allows you to go backwards and forwards to see questions. If you think you made a mistake, you can go back and fix it real quick. See if I can do math real quick.
Yeah, this is awesome.
Oh,
So it's ready to pilot right away. We're ready to.
yeah. I just need to put in a database, which I'll do this weekend.
Cool.
And have it export to
Yeah.
CV or CSV file.
That's so cool.
And then exiting on the back end gives you different stats, so you can see right away.
Oh, that's
I'm kind of bad
awesome.
at math, so I got 0% right and 100% wrong.
That's great, Nate. Way to
And it just
go.
takes you back to the home screen.
Oh yes, that's awesome. So, all right, so we have a resident Android app expert. Thank you, Nate. No, I mean, I don't think anybody else can claim that above you at this point. That's really great. Yeah, thanks, Nate. And we had talked about several potential things in Android that we might pursue beyond this too, Nate, right? And I know so thinking about if the excitement and the success of that parlays into, hey, let's now look at the web server one. So if there's, I've got an app and I push a button and that sends a signal to a web server, and that web server, then the other half of that, something receives it and something happens. And I always say the ability to push a button and have something happen is always useful in our lab stuff. Push a button and a light comes on, push a button and the sound plays, you know, and to do so subtly, or push a button and it records a data point, right? That's another interesting thing. So awesome. Very cool. It's exciting to see that. So yeah, it looks like it's time to pilot test and see what the physio data look like. And there's probably, if anybody, you know, probably multiple people interacting with that app, maybe, hey, try this, you know, change the font, change the whatever, get that sort of input, but that looks very solid. Way to go, way to go.
Anderson, can you remind me again, your overall research topic is?
Cognitive aspect. Let's see.
Your own what, sorry?
Except for this, but it's a Mac.
Oh, okay. Well, personal characteristics. Okay.
Would affect your cognitive task performance, but I focus more on
Driving task, okay.
But everything we're talking about right now is for the mask stuff, which is about the basic question of what does wearing a mask do to our standard measures of workload and physiological workload and performance. So
yeah. So the driving task performance is gonna be, if I pass the qualifier, it's gonna be my main research. And right now, this thing is I want to see the physiological data gonna be task performance.
Well, and if there's a difference, if wearing a mask is different in that regard, because we know cognitive workload is reflected in physiological data. What we don't know is if wearing a mask modulates that effect. Right? Yeah. Yeah.
Physiological data can be about
or just how much it changes, if it changes, or it may not change, but that's interesting too. But it becomes a question of, in a world where 5 years ago there were no masks in any studies, and now maybe for this period of time there are frequently masks for studies, can we interpret the results from 5 years ago the same way we can with these studies? And if the answer is there's no difference wearing a mask or not, and we did a really careful study to show that, that's a really useful thing to be able to, for science to be able to know in our field. Yeah. All right. Anything else, Anderson? Thank you. All right. 4:06. So almost done on time. So all right. So rather than putting everybody on the spot, does anybody else have any you know, like roundtable-y sort of any last things to contribute or add? Forgot about this. What about that? Questions?
So I mentioned this funding opportunity for disability.
Oh yes.
Starting the NSF put up
That's right, I forgot about
funding
Yeah.
opportunity announcement that for developing systems that help people with disability in STEM training and development.
Yep. Yep.
So that's the big topic. So
Very broad,
that's something, yes. And the study like how people with disability, and obviously if we do want to study that, we need to narrow down each specific disability we are going to study. And then people with that kind of impairment, what kind of systems we can design to help them learn better or develop human development better. So that's the idea. So,
Yep.
that fits into our expertise, right?
Yeah.
And so we think about I don't know. I just noticed this opportunity. I start thinking about what's the possibility there. One idea is that I come up with maybe design a VR AR system that was to help the people with a disability, probably mobility impaired, to have virtual collaborations in the VR environment. So they cannot actually work to our lab, but put on the goggle, they can still seems like they are in the room with us and then interacting with us compared to looking at the screen.
Yeah.
So that may be something.
Yeah. Yeah. National Science Foundation is really good about this and consistently will look for groups that need additional help. They're always underrepresented groups. They're very big on balanced, equity, inclusion, all these, making sure you have a diverse team of students from all walks of life, and in addition, all abilities. And if you call disabilities just differently abilitied, but like things like visual impairment, auditory impairment, mobility impairment. There are probably thousands of students on this campus, who have one of these conditions, and the office here connects students with researchers who are working on those problems. So in the past, I've written proposals that have dealt with people with mobility issues. I've done a lot of things for vision because the blind can really benefit from alternative sensory displays. But I've never worked directly with the population of people with a certain disability. We can recruit them. So we have that resource here and that capability here, and it's in general an area that if anybody has a passion, hey, like Xian Yang, who was former PhD student, came to me, wanted to be a grad student working on, he had designed, when he was a student in China, they had designed a camera for blind children to use. And you say, well, what's the point? Well, it would basically, a camera would take a picture of the environment and then digitize it and encode it in like a raised paper, or I don't remember all the ways they did it. But I was really, really impressed with that. And he was always passionate about, can I work with this particular community? And we never got a project for it. But if anybody else has that sort of passion, we can pursue it. And this NSF, this just came, big announcement like a couple of days ago. So that's why we were like brand new huge pot of money for how can engineers or how can we make systems to address the needs of a particular disability population.
And then on campus, we also have some expertise in VR system development.
Yeah,
I collaborate with some people in the College of Architecture.
Oh, yeah.
And they have really strong.
Oh, yes.
They are VR development expertise. So awesome. Collaborate.
Good. All right. So stuff to do is out there. There's going to be email follow-up. I'm going to be here for the next week. Anybody wants to talk, one-on-one or more deeply about some of this stuff, but.
And the next Friday we have a same meeting.
I won't be here.
Oh, so Friday.
So next, there will be project meetings, and I guess the EDM meeting will be on this time next Friday. And by all means, I will encourage, while I'm gone, please don't wait for me to be here to meet. Like, you all have access to the space, you all can use this space, especially if I can just get a text message and say, yeah, do that. You don't have to ask for too much permission, I guess. So, all right. Yeah, and if anybody has major questions while I'm gone, I will default to the PhD students. I suppose that's my first line of defense. So you can go to any of them if you have major questions or whatever. But that's it. That's let's call it a meeting while my battery runs out. Thanks, you guys. Have a cookie, please. At least take one home. Well, you're so excited for the end of the week. Yeah. Thanks, you guys. Yeah.